He leaned back in the leather chair, voice dripping arrogance. "We don't just control your references, we own your reputation." The room was cold, but the sneer in his tone burned. He slid the papers across the table, a contract dressed in legal jargon. His eyes dared me to resist. I didn't. I smiled, picked up the pen, signed. What he didn't notice was how carefully I watched his reflection in the glass wall, how I memorized the twitch in his jaw when power washed over him. I used to admire him, the CTO, a man I once thought brilliant, a mentor who had welcomed me into the company like family. Back then, I believed in his vision. We'd stay up late, sketching ideas on whiteboards, dreaming of disruption and legacy. But the cracks appeared fast. First, the subtle digs about my inexperience. Then, the meetings I wasn't invited to. The contracts I was told to sign just as formality. And the silence, cold, suffocating silence, when my ideas suddenly reappeared from his mouth, polished and claimed as his own. The final betrayal came at a board dinner. He raised his glass and announced his breakthrough, the very system I had built line by line. Everyone clapped. My name never left his lips. I knew then I wasn't a partner. I was a pawn. The contract he forced on me was supposed to be the cage. Non-compete, non-disclosure, non-existence. If I left, I'd vanish. He'd scorch my name, salt the earth where I stood. So I left quietly. No fight, no farewell. Just a smile. But silence is not surrender. I studied that contract like scripture. Buried in its arrogance were loopholes, messy clauses drafted by someone too drunk on ego to read fine print. I brought it to a lawyer I trusted, someone as patient and meticulous as I had become. Together, we built the skeleton of a plan. I disappeared from the CTO's radar, but I didn't disappear. I built something new. This time in shadows, no press releases, no LinkedIn noise. Quiet growth, quiet allies, quiet power. Every time a VC asked me about the old company, I played the humble ghost. Oh, just doing my own thing. Nothing serious. They believed me. They liked me. They invested. Meanwhile, I watched the CTO play emperor. He built his empire higher, louder, emptier. Investors loved the noise. Customers, not as much. A year later, the tables flipped. We were finalizing an $80 million round. The conference room buzzed with suits and signatures, cameras, handshakes, champagne chilling in the corner. That's when my lawyer walked in, a quiet man in a gray suit carrying a folder that felt heavier than stone. He laid it gently in front of the opposing counsel. "Before we proceed," he said softly, "there's a matter we need to address." The counsel frowned, flipped the folder open. Pages, dates, the CTO's signature, my old one. Clauses highlighted in yellow like open wounds. I watched his eyes skim, then stall, his brow furrow, his lips pressed tight. Finally, he leaned toward the CTO and whispered, just loud enough for me to hear, "What exactly did you make him sign?" The CTO's smirk faltered. His hand twitched toward the pages, desperate to snatch them back. But it was too late. Everyone in that room had seen. Everyone knew. The contract wasn't a cage. It was a trap. For him. See, buried in his overreach was one fatal flaw. The ownership clause. It was worded so broadly, so greedily, it became self-destructive. By asserting control over my intellectual property, he had inadvertently transferred liability for everything I created under his watch, including the skeleton code I had deliberately left in the system, faulty by design, dormant until pressure revealed the cracks. Our counsel laid it out like a surgeon with a scalpel. This contract places the company, and specifically your CTO, in direct breach of multiple fiduciary and IP laws. Enforcement of it is not only void, it is evidence of misconduct. The VCs looked at me differently then, not as the pawn, not as the ghost, as the man who had just exposed the rot at the core of the old kingdom. The CTO's empire crumbled in silence. One whisper, one paper, one smile. When it ended, I walked out calm, steady. Behind me, his voice rose, angry, panicked, trying to salvage authority. No one listened. Not anymore. I didn't need to gloat. His downfall was louder than anything I could have said. Now, the funding closed. The cameras clicked. My company breathes without his shadow. And when people ask me about the past, I just smile. Because revenge doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers in legal ink. And sometimes the most devastating signature is the one you give them willingly.